Hello and welcome to this video where we're going to respond to a question from the comments. So this was a question made by Johan, sorry if I've mispronounced your name, about getting the pads on the MPK Mini to operate chord pads in Cubase. Now, as it happens, I've got an MPK Mini. It's a very useful portable little keyboard. Throw it in the laptop bag whenever I go away. But the pads by default don't work in the way I think you'd want them to in Cubase. So as you can see on the screen, I've got just a piano sound in Halion Sonic set up and chord pads ready to go, and we've got the default pads set up. If you're not sure on chord pads, take a look at my other video, which is linked in the description. That will take you through it. And of course, obviously, you should always consider buying my book. Sorry, shameless plug there. Anyway, we're going to take a look at how to do this. Now, there are a number of ways you might be thinking about doing it, but actually, the best way to do it is to reprogram the MPK. So, by default, if we play the pads on the MPK, yeah, you play the first one, you think, yeah, I've hit dirt, this is brilliant, it's going to be great. And then you hit the next one, oh, hang on a minute. And then they go up and don't really do what you want. So we get 3 that work, and then the fourth one is out of range. So we've got 3 that don't, 5 that do. So what we want to do is to reprogram these to be some kind of sensible order. So for me, that would be, so this would be that first one, and then the next pad, so the A7 pad, that's it there, the second pad would be done by pad 5, and so on. So we're going to reprogram it to do that. And the way you do it is with the MPK software. And so if you've registered your MPK at akopro.com, there's quite a bit of software to download. One of the things is MPK Editor. So we've got mini-MPK Mark II Editor. It's the same on the PC as this. And you've got this nice little graphical editor. So the only option you have to do is to just make sure you've got the right MIDI ins and outs, which are the only ones on this particular Mac at the moment. And here we've got a graphic editor that allows us to edit pretty much all the output other than the keyboard, although we can edit some of the keyboard, but it allows us to edit the pads and the knobs and so on really easily and quickly. So what we're going to do is we're going to alter program 4 on the MPK to activate those keypads. So, sorry, chord pads. Now, if you're not aware, you've got 4 different complete settings on the MPK, which are accessed by pressing prog select and then picking the appropriate top pad. So if I hold that down, you may or may not be able to see, but this is actually lighting up to show us that program 1 is currently active. To select a different program, you just tap it, it flashes, and then you've got different allocation for all of these, so we can hear different. And then program 3, you get something different, and then program 4, something different again. So we're going to change program 4 and see how you do that in the MPK editor. So I'm just going to turn arpeggiator off. Now, to get that program 4 set up in the editor, what we need to do is to just get it from the keyboard. So we just press get, and you see all the settings on screen change to match program 4's current settings. And we can see we've got the wrong notes totally. So pad 1 is currently C4, pad 5 is E4. So that's actually going up chromatically, which does make a bit more sense, but that doesn't make sense to me in the way it's laid out. So we're going to do it the way I think makes sense. Now, to do that, we need to allocate the note for each pad. So in the case of pad 1, we're going to pick that there. And Cubase handily tells us which note we need. So we set it to C1 and it won't work. And the reason it won't work is because Cubase makes a different reference to octave numbers, let's say that. Okay, so Cubase's C1 is everyone else's C2. So if we change this to C2 here via the not particularly friendly menu, that would actually make this work. But the proviso is once you've changed something in here, to get the MPK to actually do it, we need to send the message to the MPK. And that's what this send to RAM does. So as well as the programs, the MPK has got the current settings, which are in RAM. So we need to send to RAM. So if you change something here, it doesn't update automatically. You need to press that. So now when we press our first one, we get what we're after. So now we're going to change pad 5 to be C#2. And once again, we will send to RAM. And now pad 5, we can see in Cubase. If we flip back to Cubase, we've got, and so on. So now I'm going to change the others. We'll just speed it up to save time. And again, once I send to RAM, we'll flip back to Cubase. And now you should see, okay. Now, I'm also going to turn the arpeggiator off just in case I press the keyboard, and we will turn that off there and send that to it. So now we're up to date. Now, if you wanted to add more keypads in, we could do these here. So we've got these pads here, and we can do those on bank B. So those are accessed by pressing that. So we're just going to change the first one. I'm not going to go through the whole lot, but we're going to change the first one to be G#2. And now that should do the next. Once I send it, once I send it to it, so you can see that's now doing the 9th pad, etc. And that will work with any chord pad preset. So if we pick a different one, they will still, going back to bank A, we've got all those, so you can play around with those. So that's the way to do this, is to change the MPK's setup and then store it on it. So the last thing we need to do is to store what we've done, because at the moment it's stored in RAM, but if we pull the plug, it won't keep it. So I'm going to go back to the MPK editor, and then we're going to send this to program 4. So I do send, and now that's stored in memory. So anytime we want to use chord pads with Cubase, we just do prog select, pick pad 4, sorry, program 4, which is pad 8, and then we will get that, and effectively you've programmed this to work in chord pads mode. Now, meanwhile, you can still use the keyboard as normal. So obviously, even if you put it into the correct octave, so now we're in the chord pads octave, or we put it up top. So you can do all that other stuff. So you can still have that. So this can still work, and you can have those other things playing while you've got that going. But that's my idea on how to do that. So fun with the MPK rather than mostly with Cubase. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.